Welcome back. Kenya Airways shares more than doubled today after it restructured $2 billion of debt in a rescue plan. The shares traded at 12 shillings each, up from 5.30 shillings on November 14 when they were suspended to complete the restructuring. The company created additional shares to convert some of its debt into equity, leading to a 95% dilution of existing shareholders. And South Africa's Public Investment Corporation, PIC, is planning to ask for 2 seats on the board of Lonmin by the end of 2017 and has suggested the platinum miner move its main listing to Johannesburg. Lonmin, majority owned by state-run PIC and listed in London since 1961, has been hobbled by persistently low platinum prices, rising costs and strikes, forcing it to tap investors 3 times in the last 8 years. PIC, which manages $150 billion of government employee pensions, raised its stake in Lonmin in 2015 to 30% from 7% after a rights issue was undersubscribed. Lonmin, which is the world's 3rd biggest platinum producer, with output 650,000 ounces in 2017, carrying out an operational review to boost margins by selling off assets and laying off employees. Its shares lost more than a third of their value on November 3 after the firm delayed full-year results to complete the review. And 1 British and 2 African companies are bidding to establish a 4th mobile phone voice service provider in Zambia in a tender closing next month. Zambia approved a law in June allowing more mobile phone voice service providers to boost competition. The tender was supposed to close last week, but was extended to December 18 because some of the bidders needed more time. The winner expected to be selected by June 2018. South Africa's MTN, India's Bharti Airtel, and state-owned Zamtel are currently the only mobile phone operators offering voice services in Zambia. And a new survey carried out by UK Department for International Development has shown that Nigeria needs about 3 million hectares of land to close its rice import gaps. The research, which stems from an initiative of the agency known as GEMS4, advocates increased investments in order to realize the $6 billion rice market potentials.
Basically, the agribusiness support service can earn, we estimate, about $30 a hectare by serving as the agro dealer to the farmer and taking a small margin on the inputs. Can earn another $10 by acting as the financier and providing that working capital that the farmer needs. Of course, even though that's $47 that the agribusiness support service is taking, when you consider that some of these businesses are doubling yields, that's, the farmer is also happy. And then finally, when that newly improved yield comes to market, many of these businesses are getting a small margin of 5% commission is what we found when we talked to some of the businesses. That adds up to $30 or even $40 a hectare. Put that all together, 1 hectare of rice gives you a gross profit of $84 for one of these agribusiness support services. If you look just at the total market right now in Nigeria, the 2.6 million hectares that we estimate are currently under cultivation, that's a market at the end of the day, $200 to $230 million in gross profit. And of that, 110 million or 140 million is concentrated just in the 3 biggest states. So a business could actually come to market in one of those states, scale relatively rapidly because they're dealing with farmers in a relatively geographically constrained area, and earn very substantial revenues. So we see this as an extremely exciting opportunity financially and also from an impact perspective. In the next slide. So certainly by investing a small amount of capital to help these agribusiness support services scale and reach new farmers, the results of that are you are able to provide cheaper inputs on credit, and also training to the farmers, the smallholder farmers that are part of this program. That means farmers can double their average yields, they can reduce the cost of their production by access to better inputs and better technology and better training, and that production will be of a more consistent quality and a more consistent supply, which in turn is much better for the downstream players and for the overall Nigerian rice market. So you've got a social impact, higher farmer income, higher standard of living, less exposure to shocks, and an overall greater stability for the farmers, their families, and their communities. So it's both a financial and an impact perspective. It's quite a win. So that's the first model. We'll talk about the second model today, and you'll also hear from our colleagues at Afro Foods who will explain what they're working on in this model a little bit later in the session. But basically, the second model is just a vertically integrated production. It's companies that are putting together some of the pieces that you see here normally thought of as disparate or distributed across the value chain. So if you look at the four main stages of the value chain, you see some rice is produced through commercial farmers, some rice is produced through smallholder farmers, and then you have a variety of services that are required to treat the rice after harvest and then store it, and then bring it to the mills, and then finally bring it to retail. So you can think of this play as a sort of mix and match. A company goes in, maybe it starts with a mill, and it then asks the question, can I capture some more value by actually having my own branded rice and bringing that to market, and then thus capturing the retail margin? Or can I work backwards and provide post-harvest services to the farmers and even recruit a network of smallholder farmers into a sort of outgrower scheme, and thus capture some or all the margins that are accruing at various other stages of the value chain? So the exact form will depend on the specific opportunity and what the company feels that it's best at, but the general principle is it's combining some or all of those different stages of the value chain. How does that benefit the company financially? Well, first, you're exploiting economies of scale. So you've got lower direct business costs because you're able to capture some of the margins that are currently accruing to third parties and middlemen, which are exploiting information asymmetries and maybe working at cross purposes to you in a sort of adversarial model. So you're able to capture margins both from the rice coming from the paddy to the mill and even potentially the rice going from the mill to the grocery stores. You're also able to reduce some of your soft costs and offer and work more effectively. So a larger company, we certainly know that there's a war for talent in Nigeria, and high-quality managers are heavily recruited, and so a larger company is able to attract the right set of managers and the right set of business expertise to really help exploit these kind of inefficiencies in the value chain and increase the efficiency that they're operating, and is also able to manage the regulatory burdens inherent in bringing a premium product to market and complying with the necessary regulatory standards and food safety standards and things like that.
And finally, global oil market prices fell today on doubts OPEC and Russia will agree on extending a crude production cut that the market has already priced in, and after a report of an unexpected rise in U.S. crude oil inventories. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures were at $57.67 a barrel, down 32 cents. Traders say WTI was pulled lower by a report from the American Petroleum Institute late on Tuesday that showed U.S. crude inventories rose by 1.8 million barrels in the week ended November 24 to 457.3 million barrels. Official U.S. oil inventory data is due later today. WTI was also weighed down by gradual restart on Tuesday of the Keystone Pipeline, which supplies Canadian crude to the United States. Brent crude futures, the international benchmark for oil prices, were at $63.14 a barrel, down 47 cents. And that's it on the program. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chimezi Obi Iwago.